Welcome to the Fuck It podcast, where fuck it means setting the fears aside and having the courage to embrace who we truly are.
On this podcast, we're going to dive deep with you into the juiciest and most transformative aspects of life, and hope they will offer valuable insights and practical tools to support your well-being and growth.
We're here to remind you that you're not alone on this adventure called life. So grab a seat. Fuck it.
So the topic I would like us to speak about today has to do with our life and what happened yesterday. And so even though we're together for 13 years and we've been working on our communication, I think every day, getting better, striving to get better, to understand each other on a higher level, to be understood, to be seen, and to see, we still hit moments like yesterday where a big topic in our life came up, talking about children, whether we want to have children or not. And this is a very, triggering topic that we both kind of it was easier not to speak about. And when it came up yesterday, we were communicating. I think we did end up communicating, but it was a very, very intense, long kind of conversation. And I feel like we did not do it on the best way that we know how. And throughout a lot of the conversation, I feel like you didn't feel seen. I didn't feel seen. I felt misunderstood, and just a lot of frustration, which is something that is a symptom of bad communication. And in the end, good communication, and the whole idea of communication is that we are conveying something that is on our mind or heart to someone else or to others. And the idea is to be understood. Otherwise, what's the point? To be understood. And when we're understood, and then we feel seen and validated, and vice versa. And in a relationship with anyone, but especially in a romantic relationship, I want to be understood, and I want to understand what you have to say because I love you and I care about the things you have to say. What do you think happened yesterday around communication? What were you feeling? How are you feeling today? And what do you think was maybe missing? Or, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big topic, and it's not an easy one to navigate because I don't really know how I feel about it. And I think that's what made it really hard to communicate about and have this conversation, because I feel completely lost in this topic, and I feel like I learned how to communicate many things, many of my needs, many of the things that are bothering me. But when it comes to this topic, I become speechless and kind of stuck, and everything is very unclear to what I feel and how to bring this up in a healthy way. And I think what was happening yesterday is that I felt a need to bring up this topic because I'm 35. I have, in the past year, a lot of my close friends having children, having babies, some of them already for years, but I feel like it's getting closer and closer. And what bothers me the most is that I'm not feeling like, I feel like I'm postponing this topic instead of just talking about it. And I think that's what bothers me the most, is that it's not about necessarily getting to a conclusion and pressuring myself to decide whether or not I want to have children, or if I want children, does it have to happen now? Or all this topic of children is quite big, but I feel like not being able to talk about it and just putting it aside constantly because it's uncomfortable and there's no clear solution, let's call it, or conclusion. So I feel like what we've done over the years is just put it aside because it was irrelevant. we're young, it's irrelevant. We're traveling, it's irrelevant. We're stuck in pandemic, it's irrelevant. We don't have a job. Like, there's always a reason why not to talk about it. And in the past year, the element of age is kicking in as a woman, which sucks. And I wish it wasn't something I would be considering, but considering the fact that at the moment I do think I want to be a mother at some point, it's kind of frustrating me that I have to think about it now. Like, I don't know how to explain. It's like uncomfortable. It's like, it's not necessarily what I'm ready to do right now, but at the same time there is like this constant voice inside of me telling me like, you're running out of time. And I know it's not an abundance mindset, and part of me wants to believe that I do have time, and I think part of me does believe that, but at the same time there is a need to bring this topic up and to be able to talk about it. And what I've been feeling so far is that before I was unable to talk about it at all. So when you brought it up years ago, I was 30 and I was terrified of this topic. So it was just like, absolutely not. Let's just not talk about it and postpone it to I don't know when. And in this past year, it's been on my mind, not as in a I want to be a mother now, but as a topic of, okay, I want us to talk about it. I want us to be able to talk about it. And I felt that every time I bring up the subject, you just shut down. And I try to say something, like I see a picture of a baby of my friend and it does something to me. I'm not sure what. It's not like a, oh my God, I want to be a mother now, I wish it was me kind of thing. I wish I felt that. It would have made things so much clearer and easier. But it's getting closer to a space where I'm like, okay, it does something to me, and I'm trying to understand what it does to me, and I'm trying to bring that up, like it does something to me. And your response so far has been like, yeah, I hear you. And then after 2 sentences, we switch topic. And I think yesterday what came up was more of a frustration as the difference between men and women around pregnancy, around the roles we play in creating humans and nature, and the differences between us, the very fundamental differences between men and women. So I think this topic was kicking into the dynamic of our relationship. And I felt the burden of having to carry this worry alone. Like, the worry of my age is only something that I felt like I was carrying. Like you said, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just busy with other things. And I'm like, great, but so why do I have to carry this worry alone? Like, if we're going to have children together, it's something that you should also think about, my age. And so I felt frustrated that it's something that me as a woman, I need to process it alone and kind of calculate my year and what I want to do. And you just get to like continue your life. And then at some point I don't know what you were thinking. You were expecting that someday I will be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to lead us forward to this transition. I'm scared. I don't know how it's going to be like. I have no idea. So I felt very alone and frustrated and angry at the way we communicated. And then the worst part was when you started opening up about your own fears. I couldn't feel empathy, and I couldn't feel like I can hold your fears right now. I'm also scared. I also have no idea how the fuck are we gonna do this. And so I felt like you were expecting me to salute you for opening up about your fears around children, and expecting me to be the one who says it's okay to be afraid, when inside of me I'm terrified as well. And I can't hold your fears. I need you to hold my fears in a way. So something like that. And I think the communication was getting worse by the minute, and I knew I have a choice. I knew I could communicate better, but part of me didn't want to do it. I was angry. I was having like rage inside of me as a woman. And I think it started as a discussion about men and women and expectations and things like that. And it turned into a personal conversation about our dynamic and on how sometimes I feel like it's on me to lead on certain things, and I want on these kinds of topics that it's on us to think about things. So something like that. Is it clear?
So I want to try and take a step back, like, and bring it to the topic of communication. What happened yesterday was a good example of miscommunication around a heavy topic or something that has, life-changing consequences. But it doesn't have to be around children. It could be about many things: where to live, where to go, money, get married, where to bury someone. It could be so many different things. And we live right now in a world where I think there is so much disagreement, so much that has to do with a lot of miscommunication. I think that there are differences, but I think that the distance in the difference isn't as big and we could see that if only we were able to communicate in a proper way. And I think that when miscommunication happens, it's like a snowball effect, that it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, like what happened yesterday. And because there were so much emotions, and so what happened yesterday, yes, I do want to address that, but also more talk like on a higher level about communication. Like, take that as an example to what happens in these type of situations. And I think there are many different types of conversations and types of communication, but specifically in topics like this, when there are emotions running really high and a lot of confusion, like you said, both of us are feeling a lot of fears. And so there's something that we do as humans, and I think we did yesterday, was kind of pointing fingers at each other and saying, you should be like this, you didn't do this properly, da da da, men are like this, women are like this. And I know where it's coming from. It's coming from the place of hurt and pain. But what happens when we communicate in that way is that if I am feeling attacked, then my guards go up automatically. I need to be in a very, very centered place to be attacked and stay centered. And because yesterday this conversation caught me off guard, and like you said, we were talking about one thing and suddenly it led into that. And then I was feeling maybe blamed, because like what happened was that you raised the topic and then something about the face I was making you didn't like. You said, your face is triggering me. And this was one of the first times that I was actually really asking questions and trying to understand more about why you were interested in having kids. And I felt like I'm actually opening up to the topic more, but maybe I still had my fears or something about my face. And I felt like you weren't seeing that I was opening up, and I was just feeling like I'm being blamed for not being where you want me to be. And so that set me off guard, and that put me on defense mode. And then there were other things that you were saying that were triggering to me, and I was trying to address them, but it kind of became this just mishmash, this turmoil of emotions. And I think the thing about nonviolent communication, NVC, is addressing what we are feeling and not how we perceive what the other person is saying, and not putting our misconceptions on them and not interpreting. So I think that if I take it to myself, I don't remember a specific example yesterday, but I felt like many times the situation was already so fueled, and I was adding fuel to this fire because I was saying like, you said da da da, and then you'd be like, I didn't say that, I didn't, and instead of going back and saying like, hey, and I did at some point say, like, when you're saying what you're saying, I'm feeling shame and guilt and confusion. But I think we were so far ahead into this vikuach, argument that we just we're not seeing each other. And then what happens in that situation is that we're each trying to barricade ourselves in our place because we both want to feel validated and seen. And that's the thing, that if we take a step back from yesterday, we both have both of our feelings and emotions are valid. You feel more ready because you are feeling the biological pressure, because your friends are having babies and you see that they're happy, because you're feeling FOMO, because you're feeling fear that one day you might regret it.
Okay, so I want to stop you there.
Okay.
That's exactly what triggered me yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling all these things, but I feel the responsibility to bring this topic up because of the fact that I'm getting older.
You said all of these things yesterday as well. You said after I spoke and after I shared my fears that you understand how much you do want it.
No, but I said it. I see it more. Okay, I see it more than before. Like, the more you were pulling away, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. It was coming out of also anger. But at the bottom line, what I was trying to say is not like I'm ready. It wasn't a conversation of like, listen, hon, I'm ready. Like, you need to be ready right now because I'm ready and I want to have children right now. That wasn't what I was saying. And that triggers me because it's like, again, you're not hearing what I'm actually saying, is that I don't feel ready, but I feel the responsibility to go towards readiness.
Okay, well then that is exactly what I'm saying, is that what happened was that how I felt, okay, was that you were saying, we can never talk about this topic. Every time I bring it up, you're making a face or you're feeling triggered, which is true, okay? And what I started by saying was that, hey, this is a triggering topic for me, so I want it not to be just like, oh, we're talking about this and suddenly bring it up, but come and say like, hey, babe, this is a topic that's important to me. I don't know what I want, but I feel like we're avoiding the topic and I would love for us to sit and talk about it. And then you said like, I want you to bring it up. But I'm saying, okay, but this is a triggering topic for me and it's not something that is constantly on my mind. And then you were upset that it's not constantly on my mind, but we are different. And then I finally sat down and started sharing my emotions and my fears. And I was talking about all the things, just airing it out. And then your response was, I was like, you didn't respond to it. And I was like, do you have anything to say? Like, no. I was like, do you have any thoughts about this? Yeah, you depressed me now. So then I feel invalidated. I'm feeling totally unheld. The reason I'm afraid to talk about this topic is because these things are scary for me and it's life-changing decisions. And I'm afraid to trigger you with my fears and to set you off. So everything in that moment was validated. And then I just felt shitty. And I felt
and now you feel triggered.
unheld. And so, and that's the absurd, because I knew you had fears, but you weren't willing to admit that in the moment. You were taking the stick, the sword of the, I'm ready, I want this, and you don't. That's how I felt. Maybe you weren't saying that, but that's how I felt. You weren't admitting your fears. And then all of my fears, I felt like you were just like invalidating them. like, oh, this is so horrible. You see the world in such a dark way. And then I felt really shitty. And it took a really long time to get it out of you that you also have fears, and that maybe we are similar and we have fears, and that's part of it. And in order to communicate around this topic, we need to air out these fears and these things so that we can come to some type of decision that is not based on fear. What?
I agree with you. I agree.
Okay. And so
I agree with you, and I want to say that, yes, I think that in the moment when you're in fear, it's more challenging to admit the fears. And for me, my strategy was to hold on to your fears and argue with them, because I couldn't bring myself to just talk about my own fears. So you were sharing your fears, and I could just like attack them and avoid feeling all these fears for myself. And in addition, I think that for me, that was the underlying frustration, is that I was feeling that I'm not being seen and heard for my fears. I'm bringing up the fear time after time, but I'm expected to hold the torch of, I know what we're doing. I know that we're ready. And I'm not. So it's like a double frustration, that it was almost like I was subconsciously like sabotaging the situation, because I feel like I'm not being seen for the realness of the fears that I have around this topic. So I'm gonna attack your fears and say like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm more ready than you. And like, why do I need to think about these things on my own? I don't know. It wasn't clear, but I just want to say that like what you said, for me, what I actually needed is that you'll understand what I'm saying about the common responsibility of talking about this topic. And that was what I needed from you. It wasn't you to be ready to have children. I don't know if I am, that's the thing. But it was like about, oh, I get it that as a woman you're thinking about it more than me, because you have the age factor that I don't have. And what I'm hearing is that you're frustrated from that fact, and you want me to initiate this conversation, because that would make you feel like it's not the burden of making that decision and being on top of it is only on you. That was the truth.
Yes.
It wasn't about the children. It was about the topic.
So bringing it back
and then I felt like you were twisting my things, and then I was taking it to like a place of like, okay, so I am more ready than you, and I'm like, shit scared, and I'm not necessarily more ready than you. But it was like it was pushing me to take that role, because you were starting to bring up all the fears. So I felt like somebody needs to be like the more courageous person in the situation.
Bringing it back again to communication, okay, I think that that's something that over our relationship was something that bothered me. And I don't know if others have this issue, but many times, and this reminded me, is that you could have ideas in your mind and you won't kind of want me to read your mind. And then there's frustration when I don't read your mind, because I cannot read minds. And so there's this, like, you're afraid to talk about this topic. You're feeling pressure and a lot of fear that you're holding for yourself, whether it's because you don't want to burden with me with it, maybe because you're confused, maybe because you are embarrassed about it. And then it comes out in these blurts of the topic. I don't even have an example, but you mentioning it. And it's in catching me in the middle of who knows what we're doing. And it's not an easy topic for me. So maybe I don't I listen to you, but I don't dive into it because now we're on our way somewhere or whatever. And then you perceive that as me not caring or not giving a shit. And I don't even know that you're going through all of these things. And then it comes out in a big, it builds up. And then there's an expectation of me to bring up the topic, but I'm fucking focused now on getting a new job and working on the podcast and whatever. And then you, again, perceive this as he doesn't care. It's all on me. And then it explodes. Whereas my ask is, and that's at the beginning of communication, is many times, sharing with you how I need to be communicated around topics like this. And you to come and express your desire and to be vulnerable and express your fears and what you're going through and say like, hey, I am feeling super confused around this topic. I'm afraid to bring it up myself, but right now it's bothering me. And I would love for us to sit and carve out time to do this. How do you feel about that? And then I have time to prepare or to feel ready for this conversation. And yes, if I say, no, I never want to talk to you about this, then that's something you deal with. But I can 100% tell you that I would say, okay, let's find time, as much as it's triggering for me. And then I come prepared for the conversation and I come centered, and then I can hold space for your fears. And once your fears are out and that balloon is kind of out, then I can express my fears. And then it doesn't, that snowball effect, like I said, doesn't happen. And another thing that I thought about as you were speaking is that one of the fears in communicating with each other, right? And our fears with each other, or listening, right? Like yesterday, it was communicating. Maybe in the end we are going to agree, but as of yesterday, maybe we had disagreements, okay? I was holding more the torch of, I'm not ready for kids. Maybe I don't want kids. And you were holding the torch, I'm ready. I feel pressure, I'm ready. And then there's this fear that if you really listen to my fears, now you need to be convinced or you have to agree with me, and now we're never going to have kids. And there's a fear for me that if I'm listening to you, then I have to agree with you. But no, that's the thing around communication and communicating around disagreements. It's allowing the other person, the other side, and it goes to right and left wing in political situations. It goes to around gender. It goes to all the taboo topics that are really confusing, sexuality. It's allowing you to have your ideas and your feelings and your emotions and to hold space. I don't have to carry them. I don't have to, the burden doesn't have to be on me, but it's allowing you space for that. And so what I was feeling was that I don't need you now to hold all my fears, and I don't need you to agree with them and to take them upon yourself. I just need space, that it's allowed and it's okay for me to play with the idea of not having kids or not being ready, and just that it's okay. Because where I grew up and how I grew up, there's no choice. There's no, it's a given. You have children. You get married, you have children, and maybe some people don't want, and maybe some people aren't ready to have them when they're 20 years old or 30 years old or whatever. And maybe some people need time, and I know I need time, and I know that my ideas around it have changed over time, and I don't know what I want because I never speak about it because I'm scared too. And so just having the space to express those fears and let them out kind of clears room to start asking myself, what do I really want? Do I give in to these? Are these fears valid? All these things, or are they not? And that's the thing with fears. For me, sometimes fears can take me really far. I can feel financial stress and think the worst. Imagine me dying of starvation. Like, that's where my mind takes me. And that the solution is to jump off a cliff because things are too scary. That's just the mind running away. And so the fears I was expressing yesterday, I understand they really scared you. And it was like dark for you, but those are things that are going through me that are hidden. And in a relationship, in an intimate relationship, a romantic relationship, there needs to be space to speak about these things. In a workplace, in a government, people need space to speak their mind and to speak their emotions Not everybody has to agree with them, but you have to be allowed to.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And I want to add something. Because I agree with you, and I want to say that that's the thing. That's the thing in conflict. Like, we each have our position, and we want to feel seen and heard in our position. And when you jump off straight to your fears without addressing how I feel and addressing what I'm bringing up, I can't listen to you. My brain is completely blocked. And I'm still blocked right now because, again, I'm bringing up something and you're taking it to you and you're expecting me to hold that for you. And exactly what you're asking for, you're not giving. And so it creates a frustration because in this moment, what I'm asking you to do is to like practice what you preach for and be like, oh, I'm hearing that as a woman, you feel the pressure to make a decision and I'm hearing your fear around it. Great. Validation. Diffusion. Now I can listen to your fears. You're like fighting for me to hear your fears, but you're not listening to me. So how can you expect me to be there for you when you're not being here for me? And that's the thing that happens in conflict. And on the other hand, I agree with you. There is a moment of like, okay, I can breathe in. And I had a moment, a very clear moment that I was like, okay, I'm seeing that he's just fearful right now. And I had this like inner dilemma of like, can I step back from my position? It's like a chess game. And say, okay, I can diffuse the situation and take a step back and be like, okay, I think we went too far and like this is what I needed and I'm hearing that you're full of fear. But in that moment I was holding on so much to that, and I'm still in a way holding on to that I want my validation. It's like my inner child or my inner self that is full of fear saying like, wait, before we jump to your fears, like, can I get a validation here for what I just said? It's like there was like a skipping point where I brought the topic. So if I can reflect, you're doing the same to me. You're expecting me to serve this topic in a way that works for you. And I'm saying, hey, this topic is super complicated for me. I can't do that. I'm doing what I can to bring it up, and I'm asking you to be involved in this conversation. And you're saying, no, if you're not going to do it the way I want you to serve this topic because it's hard for me, I can't listen to you. And then we're stuck. I do want to say that I've learned over the years that yes, I can be stubborn and I can say things the way I want, and I want to say this thing aggressively or with anger, or to just like burst out and explode, and I want you to just hold it now because that's how I feel. And I did learn over the years that we have different styles of communication, and for you to be able to listen to me. So if what I really want is for you to listen to me, then I need to kind of like regroup and say it in a way that you can listen. I learned that, and I'm happy to do that most of the times. But it's like, I also want you to come towards me. And I think in many times in conflict, we're able to do that for each other, where I'm able to step back and say, okay, let me phrase it in a way that you can listen to me. And sometimes you can understand that right now I need to just say what I need to say, and you can hold that for me. And you can like not jump into defense mode. You can just like, okay, now I see she's in fear. I see she's freaking out. I'm just going to hold her. And that's also beautiful. And it's a great gift to give to each other when you're able to do that and step back from your position and be like, oh, I can recognize the fear. I'm listening to the underlying fear here. And I can just like stop for a minute and just let her do that.
Okay, I'm feeling disconnected and I'm not really hearing you, and I feel like your words are going, but they're passing through. And so I wanna stop this for a moment, and I wanna ask you. I wanna address what you said. You're still not feeling heard and validated. What does that mean? What can help you feel validated in this moment?
Okay.
And what are you feeling?
Thank you for this question, and thank you for your honesty. I want to be validated for the fact that I am a woman, a 35-year-old woman, and I feel the pressure, the biological clock, let's call it, on my shoulders. I feel it as a burden on my shoulders. And I just want to be acknowledged for the fact that I have this worry as a woman, and that it's uncomfortable for me to hold that pressure because I am a woman.
So if I'm understanding and hearing you fully, is that you, as a woman, the one who has a time frame where you can conceive and become pregnant and have a baby, right? And men can be fertile till they're 80, I don't know. So you're feeling the pressure and that burden on you, like the responsibility, all of the responsibility is on you. You don't know 100% if you want children. You have your own fears around it, but you feel like you're the one that's pressured to make a decision, and you're the one that if you don't raise your hand and scream, hey, let's address this, then it's just not going to be done, and I'm going to continue focusing on other things. And so you're feeling, you didn't say this, but if I hear correctly, you're feeling frustration, you're feeling maybe lonely in this. Like I said, you're feeling frightened and confused.
Yes.
It does sound lonely and frightening and confusing.
And I think it's something that I was telling you yesterday, that I've been hearing the gaps between men and women, and the way that you said it was, how do you say in English?
Condescending.
Condescending. To say that men will never understand a woman and what she's going through. But it's more the pain of it that I hear from many women in this whole process. And it's hard to even talk about it because, yeah, we're not experiencing the same thing. Our consciousness is not the same around it. It's hard enough to be brave to go through this process, or to even ask that question. And I'm so jealous of women who has so much clarity whether they want or not. But let's speak out to the women out there who are confused or not sure, or they don't know yet how it's going to look like. It's scary for them to take that decision. And to have the support of a man and be seen in this position, not to that I'm asking you to fully understand me because you are a man and I am a woman, so you could never really understand fully, but it's having that empathy and presence with what I'm going through. That's what I want. And then I'm more open to support you on what you bring up as a man.
I think that I don't remember exactly what we said yesterday and how it was, and I think the condescending part was about something a bit different. I could be wrong, but I think it was around like the saying like, we go through all the changes, our body, we have to carry the baby, we have to, the man's life doesn't change, and da-da-da. And I'm saying that men's life changes well. I haven't been through these changes. We haven't had children yet, so I don't really know. And I have not full understanding what women go through. God, like, it's crazy carrying it for 9 months. going through labor, the physical pain, everything, staying at home for at least 3 months with the baby. The men, after a week, go back to their normal lives. But I feel that the conversation around it, I don't hear it enough, but this is my feeling, is that it's not mikarev,
like
creating closeness and understanding. I feel like there's a lot of finger pointing. And I want to say that as men, for generations, this is how things were, and it takes time to change it. And the governments the countries we live in, the governments are not really doing much help to really create a balance. And like maternity leave is imbalanced. Only the woman is in maternity leave. There are some countries that you have both. No matter what I do, how much I pray, I can't carry the burden just like you. I cannot have a baby inside me. I can't carry that baby. And what I need as a man from you as a woman to express your desires and not expect for me to understand fully. I can try, I can be there, I can get presents, I can support, I can give a massage, I can do, but I need, and this is here extra, but throughout our whole relationship, I need you to express when you have desires or needs. And if you need something, and if I don't give it to you without you asking, it doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean I don't want to. It just means that maybe I am unaware. I don't know. And it doesn't mean I'm not loving. And so the same goes in these situations. If there's a woman who is home with the children and the father is working more often and he travels to other countries because of work, and she doesn't say anything about it but is just frustrated, is he to blame? No. If she says something, can he do much about it? I don't know, but at least let's try. Let's try. And it goes the other way around. If I'm feeling an imbalance in who knows what, around the house, in different chores and different things, if I don't express it and just become frustrated, then it's not fair towards you. And so I think that there is an imbalance between the sexes, between the genders, but there needs to be healthy communication and conversation around it. And I feel like there's a lot of finger pointing, and it's coming from a validated place of frustration and pain and anger from years of an imbalance, from years of power struggle, from years of the patriarchy. And I understand that. But as a man, when a finger is pointed at me, just like in the situation yesterday, it's automatic. My guard goes up. Yeah. And I automatically either shut down or lash out. And I'm working on that. I've come much better over the years, but I still have that. I think
you're doing a great job.
But I still do that. And then you stay feeling unheard, unseen, invalidated, and lonely. And all you want is to feel closeness. And it takes, yes. And that's why over time I said, like, when you raise your voice at me, I will shut down because I have my triggers. You can keep doing that. I am not telling you how to live your life. I'm not invalidating your anger. But this is my mechanism. And when I shut down, you don't feel seen. So if you want me to react differently, I need you to communicate differently. And that takes courage, that takes power, that takes effort from you to not just act how you want. Yeah. And that takes effort from women and men to communicate differently with each other because we are different.
I agree with you 100%. And I would add to that as a woman, or I see myself and other women in situations where we have very high expectations of you, men, to understand us. And we feel like we're kind of demanding it. Like, you need to understand me. You need to like allow me to say things the way I want to say it, and kind of like demand things that are just like, you as a man, a lot of the time you have two options. Either like you cave in and kind of give me what I want just for the peace of mind, or you shut down. And my process as to learn to communicate better in conflict was really, and I'm still working on that as well, to breathe in and be like, wait, like, what do I really want here? And can I just express what I'm really feeling and not just like attack right now, even though I really, really want to. And it's like a burning desire to just like say what I want and lash out, and have those moments where I can like pull myself back in and be like, okay, let's start again. This is not what I wanted to do. And then the whole conflict can be like dissolved because I was just able to say what I really feel and what I really need from you, and you're open to listen to me. And it's hard. I'm saying it like with a lot of like I don't know what to say the word is, but kind of like it's not easy. It takes responsibility to not blame you for not understanding me and not just go into the story of like you don't listen to me or blah blah blah. And in the past I had the moments where in conflict I was able to do that, and I was able to kind of see the situation from outside and be like, okay, let's reframe, let's hear what he needs from me. He needs better communication for him to support me. So can I do that for us? Can I let go of my pride and my need to be right in order to be seen? And it's not always the case. And I think yesterday was a case of like, I needed to be right. And even now when we started the conversation, I needed to be right. And now when we're finishing this conversation, it's like, okay, can I step back and understand that for you to listen to me, you need something else? And can I let go of being right so that I can be seen?
Yes, and it comes, I think, at the base of it is understanding ourselves better. What do I mean by that? If I am unhappy, but I don't understand what's making me unhappy and what is creating for this confusion, and then I am pointing fingers at you and saying what you're doing wrong, what you're not doing. I'm not saying what I need, and that is coming because I don't know what I need. And if I am able to tap into, hey, right now I need to be held, okay? And maybe I do know that, but that's scary because I can be rejected. That is being vulnerable, saying like, hey, I need a hug right now. Hey, I need to feel loved. I need to be seen. So at the base of it, we need to learn to express what it is that we need from the other and not point fingers and say what they're doing wrong.
Yeah. Not only that, I think the word, in other words, it's the control factor. A lot of the times we're trying to control the other person so that it fits us. And when we're doing that, we're manipulating the situation and we're not creating a safe space for the other person to open up. We're trying to control and have it done in a way that suits us, and it's not necessarily what's right for both of us. So I take the responsibility on my part. And I'm saying it with caution that it's not just like, okay, I take the responsibility and I apologize for not being able to communicate better. And at the same time, I'm just also putting, I don't know if it's a boundary, but also putting it out there that what I needed is because it wasn't clear for me to just be seen and heard for what I'm really saying before you needed that. And so I'm putting both at the same time. Like, I take responsibility. Communication could have been better, but I think we both could have done a bit more to have a better discussion around it.
And that's the thing I want to end with, is that it is a process, and it is a long process to learn how to communicate. I was not taught how to communicate. We are learning from day one in our relationship to communicate. And we communicated horribly for the first few years, but we still tried to communicate. And now, even after so many years, we had a tough time yesterday, but we are still learning and we are still growing. As long as we are showing the effort and showing the want and need to, this is showing that we do care for each other and we do love, and we want to be seen in this relationship because we want to be in this relationship. I want to see you in this relationship because I want to be in this relationship. So thank you for joining for another episode.
Yes, thank you.
Hope you can take some of this from what we spoke about into your lives, and please share with us how it's going for you, how communication is going with you. Are there struggles that you are having with communication? Thank you.